Hello, I'm Etta Epstein. I live in Omaha. I was born July 18, 1924. Um, my real name is not Etta Epstein, it's Jenda Etta Epstein, because when I went to work for the government, they told me to get a paper and a city hall, and in the city hall they had Jenda Epstein. So I made Etta my middle name so I wouldn't have no trouble.
What was your mom and dad's name?
My mother's name was Edna, and everybody in those days called by their Jewish name Yoche. And it was always Yoche. And my father's name was Ben Gorelik. They're another Gorelik in South Omaha, but no relation to us.
What was your mother's maiden name?
My mother's name was Gorelik also, believe it or not. And they met in Russia and Minsk, Siberia. And my dad came to Omaha because the uncle was here, and he came in 1914. And a year later, they were married. He sent for my mother, and then she came here, and we lived right next door to Ben Martin and family because that's who they came to see.
Were they related to the Martins?
No, no relation to the Martins. The Martins had 8 children, 4 boys and 4 girls in South Omaha. And our house shared a sidewalk with Sam and Sophie Epstein. And I'm sorry, Sophie Kaplan, Sam Kaplan. And when winter came with the snow, there was always an argument who was going to shovel the snow between the 2 houses.
Did you have brothers and sisters?
I did. I had a wonderful brother. He left Omaha when he was 18 and stayed in L.A. and begged my mother and father to come out there. At that time, all the Jews, and we had a lot of Jews, all the Jews in South Omaha went to L.A. and they liked the weather and they stayed there. And my brother promised Wintrobe, he had a grocery store, and he would go out to California and, it was Katzman, that he would go out there and help him during the war. And my brother stayed out there with them all the time. And my brother died at the age of 53 from cancer in 1972. I had a wonderful sister who was like my mother, never wanted anything. And she died, she recently died. She died October last year. And she was wonderful. We never argued. My sister Bernice. She was 5 years older than I.
Did your sister and brother marry?
Yes. My brother had a boy and a girl, married a girl from Chicago, lived in L.A. My sister married Dan Miller from Kansas City, Missouri, and they had 2 boys and a girl.
Were you close over the years?
Very, very close. In fact, my sister didn't like to travel. She was like my mother. And she came every year at Passover time. And last year she missed because, believe it or not, there was no airplane flying from Omaha to Kansas City or vice versa. And the only way she could get to Omaha at that time was go through St. Louis. And she didn't want to do it. But when she did come at Passover, we used to giggle and talk and reminisce and bake all the time for the holiday. And it was fun, but she never stayed a whole week. She would stay 3-4 days, and then she had to go home and make her own rolls because then she says her house smells Pesach. But I can't ever remember arguing with my sister.
What kind of work did your father do?
My father worked very hard. He got up at 4:30 in the morning, and he had a truck. Well, when he first came here, he went to the packing house, and he got paid 17 cents an hour. Then he bought a horse, he said. And then he decided to be a fruit peddler to make a living. So he bought his first truck, and he was a fruit peddler. And he got up at 4:30 in the morning, and he didn't come home till maybe 7 o'clock at night. But a very strong man. I remember him carrying the big double orange crates on his shoulder. And I do remember very vivid, it was a big snow and blizzard, and in those days we always went to school. The school was never closed. And my father put me on his shoulder and walked me to the Brown Park School. And that was all hills. I do remember that.
What was a day like in the life of the Gorelick family? Your mother was the housekeeper.
Oh, my mother was a housekeeper. And my mother did all the cooking. She was an excellent cook. And I never learned how to cook, neither did my sister. We always helped clean the house on Friday. And the funny thing about it, we used to scrub the floor on our knees, and then we used to put newspaper down for the whole week. And that's how it was. And my mother and father, my father was very active in Jewish organizations. He was president in South Omaha Synagogue, president of the Workmen's Circle Loan. He was down there. And he used to take me there to help set the tables when they had a big meeting. The synagogue was on 25th and J. And he was very active.
Do you remember the name of that synagogue?
You know, I don't know the name of that synagogue. It was 25th and J, it's all I know. And then it sold. Mm-hmm.
Do you remember a lot of your neighbors from the Jewish neighbors?
Oh, I could tell you a lot of people. Yeah, across the street was my cousin, Sloan. Well, not Sloan, he changed it to Sloan, was Slutskin. Bill Slutskin, William Slutskin, and his wife. And then there was Bieber, that belonged in South Omaha, lived close to the shul. And there was a Koenig family close to the shul. There was a Wolfson was close to the synagogue. There was a Sherman that lived kind of catty corner for me. My house is still standing where I was born, in the house, right across from Joe Tess, 24th and U. But I have not been in there because my father and mother, it was just a big bar with drunks coming out. But on the holiday, they always went in there for the fish. They bought the carp and the buffalo fish to make their fish. But we and Bess Cap, my neighbor, same age as me, used to sit on the steps and watch the drunks come out. But we were never allowed to go in there. And when our parents told us not to go, we listened. We always listened.
What high school did you end up going to, Etta?
I ended up going to Central High, which was far. I had to have a streetcar because my sister said my sister went to South High, and so did my brother. And my sister said, told my mother, if I want to go with Jewish people, I must go to Central, because South High, the Jews were all in California. So in those days, it was hard to get a nickel to drive the streetcar. It took me 30 minutes to get to school, but I didn't mind it because it was a good chance for me to study till I got to school.
Did you have a lot of Jewish friends in elementary school?
No, had a Jewish elementary school. I don't know any of Jewish friends. They were wonderful people to me. A lot of Bohemians lived there. In fact, up till this date, up to last year, I corresponded with the girl that I went to grade school with, and for some reason, my Christmas card did not come back, and I don't know what happened to her. Her name was Violet Bitek.
She lived in South Omaha
And
still?
she lived in South Omaha, yes, right across the street from us.
Did you mention to me that you had gone with your father to work at some time on his horse and buggy or at his truck?
No.
You didn't go out with him?
No, I had a lemonade stand on the corner from him. He would give me the lemons and the oranges to sell, sit out in the sun on the orange crate.
Tell me about a typical meal at the home when you were growing up.
Oh, everything. We had the liver with the schmaltz in the challah on Friday, the gribenes, and we had just a complete meal all the time. Never went hungry. Didn't know we were poor. They never talked about it. We'd sit on the steps, Bess and I. We were dying to go up to the Redette stand for ice cream sundae, but we didn't have the money, and so sometimes they'd just say, we can't go, and we just sat on the steps. And sometimes we got to walk, and that was a big thrill to get a sundae for a dime, I think it was.
Did your father do the same thing during the winter months?
All year long. My father was a fruit peddler, yes, all year long. And he helped a lot of people. In fact, Mrs. B, who everybody knows, we used to meet him at Elmwood Park, and my dad used to bring the extra oranges and apples and give it to that family because they didn't have nothing.
It's amazing the changes in the Omaha Jewish community, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Over the years.
Over the years, yes.
So then, did you go to Central for 4
Oh,
years?
I went to Central for 4 years, and that's where I met my husband. We dated when we were freshmen, but it was nothing serious. I never thought I'd marry him. It was just a date. And I went to Central High, and a whole new world opened up to me because I met Jewish people, and they told me to go across the street to the Jewish Community Center. I did not know what they were talking about, so they showed me. And one day, my girlfriend who introduced me to Harold, Betty Rubin, she says, "We'll go downtown to Brandeis store." And I did not know that there were stores and dime stores down there. And so I felt like I was in a different city. And I came home and told my mother from now on I was going to shop at Brandeis and not at Phillips in South Omaha. Because South Omaha in those days, we had our own synagogue, our own bakery, our own bank, our own shoe store, our own movie, anything you wanted was there.
What was 24th Street like in South Omaha during those years, growing up?
A lot of traffic, real narrow street, a lot of traffic, and that was it.
And you remember Phillips Department Store?
Oh, yes, Phillips Department Store, and across the street, the bank, and the dime store there. They had everything. So we didn't need, and my folks were very religious, so we always walked to the synagogue. I got my new pair of shoes, and we always walked to the synagogue. Twice a year I got new shoes. One for the holidays, and one for the winter. One white pair, one black pair. That was it.
Was it very far from your home to the synagogue?
About a mile. About a mile. I didn't realize how healthy that was to walk.
Was there a rabbi at the synagogue?
They brought in rabbis.
During those growing up years, did you have a chance to go to any of the other synagogues?
Oh, yes. I went with my friends. I'd meet them at the 18th in Chicago. I think there was a synagogue and different ones on the holiday. But what happened in South Omaha, when they had the mourner's prayer, I was too young to know that was the mourner's prayer, but they used to make us go downstairs. We could not stay upstairs with the adults, so we had to go downstairs. Well, what happened, the Jewish boys from North Omaha came to South Omaha to meet the girls. So downstairs, we really had a ball. So we never minded it. Yeah.
It was a real social event.
Real social, yeah.
And when did you and Bay get serious?
When did we get serious? We got serious, and we got engaged. The war was on, 1945. The war was on, and we got engaged. And then he was called to Europe, so we had to wait 2 years till he came back from the service, from the Europe side, and he was supposed to go to Pacific side, but the war ended, so he was lucky, so he got to stay in the United States. And when he was on his way home, he told my mother he wanted to marry me, and my mother made a wedding for about 200 people in 3 days. I got a funny story to tell you, my wedding. The South Omaha Synagogue, we got married, was very hot, no air condition whatsoever. I wore my sister's wedding gown because we didn't have time to shop, and I couldn't get help because the war was on. And my father, he peeled all the potatoes and set the table, and my girlfriend and I, we had to cut grapefruit. He wanted a half a grapefruit. And anyway, the wedding was on, and I was dressed, and my father comes running into the room downstairs at the synagogue and says, "We can't get married for a half hour." And I says, "Dad, did the rabbi not show?" He says, "Oh, everybody's here. The rabbi's here. But the potatoes are hard." So I had to stand and wait 30 minutes for the potatoes to get soft, and then I went upstairs and got married.
Who was the rabbi that married you? Do you remember?
Goldstein, Rabbi Goldstein from North Omaha. He allowed us. The only thing with my wedding is I couldn't have no music because it was a period there that you're not supposed to get married. And Rabbi Goldstein said I could get married if I don't have music. So there was no music at my wedding.
Did you go away after the wedding?
We did not go away after the wedding because we were broke. And we stayed in Omaha and spent our honeymoon at Peony Park every day. And that's how it was.
And what year was this that you got married?
At July 8th, 1945.
And it's worked out, hasn't it?
Yes, it is. Been very lucky.
You think it'll last?
I hope so.
I want to go back and talk about holiday meals at your home.
What kind of a meal?
Oh, on Rosh Hashanah, Passover.
Yeah. We'd come home. Oh, we'd have, the chopped liver, matzo ball soup, roasted chicken, always the kugel, honey cake. Always had to have honey cake. Gefilte fish. And dessert, always cooked Floyman, cooked dry fruit. We never went hungry. Never went hungry.
You mentioned that your mother did all the cooking.
Always did the cooking.
Did your sister and you help set the table and clean up?
We set the table, yes, we always set the table, we always cleaned up, but for some reason, when I think back, we never cooked. My mother did all the cooking, and my father loved to wash the dishes. I always had a wipe. He'd never let me wash. I was the wiper.
Did your father work on Saturdays, or was he?
My father did work on Saturdays, every day but Sunday.
So did he go to the synagogue on a regular basis?
Oh, yeah. We never missed a holiday. Never missed a holiday.
Now, what year did you start Central?
1939, I think it was. Yes, I graduated in 42.
And you met Bay there.
Met Bay there at school.
Tell me a little bit about the relationship with you and Bay in high school.
Well, my sister-in-law, Sarah, my husband's sister, said that she didn't know how he loved me because every time we were on a telephone conversation, one of us got mad. But we just got along. We always went in groups. No one had cars in those days. And we were always triple dating or squeezed in or in the back of a truck on a weenie roast. We always went in groups, never separate.
Who were some of the other couples during those years?
Oh, it was Ida and Neil Richards and Betty and Buzz Rubin and, no, not Buzz Rubin. Trying to think. Mickey Gorelick at that time. Bob Gorelick, Sam Bieber, Phil Sokoloff, Harold Slutskin, whoever was around. Boys and girls. Mm-hmm.
And what are your memories of the Jewish Community Center during those years of high school?
I always went over there afterwards, and I couldn't stay long because I had to take the streetcar home, where the other ones, a lot of them walked. My husband, Harold, always walked home because they didn't have the nickel for the transportation. And I remember when I was crowned AZA Sweetheart, Goodbinder, Harry Goodbinder, told me, come to the Jewish Community Center. He wanted to take a picture of me for some reason. And I didn't want to. I said, Harry, I don't have time. I'm going to miss my streetcar. And he insisted, so we went real fast into that man's desk, his office. He was like of the Jewish Community Center there. Forgot his name. Anyway, took a real fast picture of me. And that picture today is at the Jewish Community Center on the wall. So it became famous.
And you became an AZA Sweetheart.
Yeah.
What are your memories of that?
Oh, that is something else. I was real popular, and I had a lot of dates with a lot of boys, I thought. And my husband and I, we had an argument those days. And so he did not ask me to the dance. Now, I found out later that all the other boys didn't ask me because they thought I was going with Bay. And I didn't have a date, so my cousin across the street said to me, I will take you. He wanted me there because he knew I was going to be a sweetheart. I would take you to the dance. Well, I was embarrassed to go with a cousin to a dance. So I kept telling him no. But then I remembered that my mother pitched in and she let me buy a new dress for the dance. And I thought to myself, if I don't get to the dance and don't wear that new dress, I'm in trouble. So I told my cousin Harold Slutskin I would go with him to the dance. So I went to the dance and became AZ's sweetheart to my surprise. When I got home, I told my sister I was AZ's sweetheart, and she did not believe me. And in those days, all we got was a bouquet of flowers. Oh, I had a beautiful AZA pin, excuse me, a sweetheart pin, but our house was robbed and they stole my pin, which
So-
I can't replace.
Except for losing the pin, those were good memories, though,
Oh, they're
weren't they?
wonderful, wonderful. Always had a good time.
Were you going with Bay before he went into the service?
Yes, off and on, yes.
Okay. And then that coming home from the service is when you decided to get married.
Get married, right.
You'll never forget the potatoes being hard, though.
Never.
Then what did you do? Did you work then after you got married?
Oh, yes. I worked at high school. I worked afterwards school at J.C. Penney wrapping shoes. And then I worked for Mr. Comer. It was a dress shop next to Ike Freeman's jewelry store there. I was wrapping things and selling clothes. And then I decided to take a civil service test, and I worked for the government, 3 years with the government. They had an office above the Metropolitan Drugstore in those days. And so I worked 3 years there. Then when I got married, I got a job with the Carpenter Paper Company. But in those days, the husbands didn't like the ladies to work. So my husband made me quit the job. That was the end of my working career.
And what was Bay doing at that time? What kind of work?
My husband, he came home he went to high school, did not go to college, neither did I. He came home from the war, and he was working in a shoe store. And he was selling shoes, and he really loved it, and he worked hard. And then the shoe store was going to remodel for 3 weeks, they told him. And 3 weeks went by, and they still didn't open up. And my husband said, we need the money to work and have bread and butter. So my brother-in-law, Julius Schreiber, said, why don't he go apply for a liquor salesman? You know, they could maybe use him, but don't tell him he sent him. So he applied for a liquor store, for a liquor salesman, and he got the job. Well, he liked being out in the open and meeting people. So he never took the job. And the funny part about it is after he declined it, the manager said to him, we were going to give you a store in Madison, Wisconsin, and you would be the manager of this store. Well, it turned out that my 2 grandsons went to Wisconsin. So we could have been up there.
That's nice. I want to hear more about your life after you got married.
Our life after we got married, well, we didn't have televisions so early, so we used to always on Sunday dress up the kids. They went to Sunday school, of course, and then afterwards we always visit our parents or my in-laws, you know, on Sunday afternoon. We always went visiting people. That's about what we did.
After you got married, did you belong still to the South Omaha Synagogue?
Well, the synagogue sold. My father always belonged to it. Oh, I forgot to tell you. The synagogue sold because all the Jews left and they didn't have the money to support it. So what they did, my father told me, they sold the synagogue. And the money that went from the synagogue, they gave it to Beth Israel. And Beth Israel for perpetual care for the South Omaha Cemetery. That, what is it, BBH? Yeah. And all the people that were neighbors, they all bought plots together. The whole South Omaha was just like sidewalk, side by side, each couple. That's what they did.
Did you join Beth Israel at that time?
I did join Beth Israel, and we lived only a couple blocks from Beth Israel at that time, but there was such a chaos with the kids, and you didn't know it was a service, so we joined Bethel. Before Paul was 13, we joined Bethel, and we were very happy with Bethel. And at that time, my mother, who lived in South Omaha, moved up to North Omaha, and joined Beth Israel because it was so orthodox. And she had a fit because she didn't know how she was going to ride to the synagogue, because that was a whole new world for her. And I probably would never left Beth Israel because they had that wonderful Rabbi Nadoff there. But I already left, so that's how we stayed with Bethel.
Going back to your growing up years, Etta, did you speak Yiddish at home?
My mother spoke Jewish to me all the time, but she told me to speak English to her because she was trying to pick up the language. So I can understand it real good, but I don't speak it that good.
Well, being away from it for so long.
Right.
Yes. And then where did Bay go after? Did he stay with this liquor company for quite a while?
He stayed 25 years with McKesson Robin, and then he had guts to open up Nebraska Wine and Spirit. And then my son Paul, who graduated, came up to help him, and then my son Gary came to move here. And my middle son Stephen, he's a dentist, and he's in Houston, Texas.
And how many grandchildren do you have now?
I got beautiful grandchildren. I have 7 grandchildren, and 3 of them just got married, so I got 3 new grandsons, and so I got 10 grandchildren.
That's very nice. Etta, do you have any other memories of Passover?
Passover, my mother was very religious, and I mean, we scrubbed that house upside down. Everything had to be changed and clean. And then, in fact, they even took the mattress springs and put them in the backyard and washed them with a hose, and then put them back on the bed. But when it comes to cooking, we naturally bought a lot of eggs, and my mother insists that we wash the eggs and dry them before she uses them.
And you mentioned the Schlafers.
And the Schlafers in South Omaha had a butcher shop. They had a lot of children, a lot of boys. And one set was twins, and the one boy would come over to my house to want to help me to wash the eggs. And he also wanted to take me out, and I didn't want to go out with him, and he said he would help me learn to ride a bike, but I didn't want to go with him, so I never learned how to ride a bike.
See what you missed out on?
I'm sorry. I have to tell you the story. Read 'em, examine. We always went in a group, loved to give parties. And this was winter. We had a big snow. And she was giving what we call a weenie roast out at Hummel Park. So we went to Hummel Park. My husband didn't have a car, but we went with another couple. And we got to the pavilion. I'm sorry. We got to the pavilion, and there was no logs, and it was freezing. So my husband and this other man said, we will go and bring in the logs. So we left, forget the logs. Well, we found the logs, but the car got stuck. It was an old car. And we pushed and pushed and pushed, and we couldn't move the car. So we decided we had to walk. We walked to the pavilion, freezing, and all the kids took off. We had no transportation, and you have to remember, I live on 24th and U, South Omaha, and this is as far north as you can get. So we walked and walked out of the park, and there was a car came by, and we hitchhiked, and we got in the car, and the man said he would take us home. So Bay says he'll go with the man first to take me home. Now, my father gets up at 4:30 in the morning, and I said to Bay, if I'm not home by 4:30 in the morning, I don't know what my father's going to do to you. Well, they took me home. I got into bed. I did not get undressed. I went in bed with my shoes, and 4:30 alarm clock went off. So I just was saved.
What an experience.
That's a true story. That wasn't funny. You know, today they wouldn't even pick you up. They wouldn't even stop for you. I have to tell you that my husband always wanted to do something for Bethel, and he got the idea that the Bethel Cemetery should have a little house where we could go in during services when it's too cold or too hot, and people could go inside and hear the sermon that the rabbis give. When he told me that, I thought he was crazy. The idea of his name on a in the cemetery. But then I realized he was right, and they built this, and it's such a pleasure to hear that people have used it, and it's a thing that all cemeteries should have. Well, I think I told my story, what I can remember, and I'm a very lucky girl because Bay has given me everything I ever wanted, and I love him, and we've been married a long time, and it's hard, but we did it. We've been married 62 years, and we have 3 wonderful sons that we love. I love Paul, Stephen, and Gary, and they've always come to me and helped me and support me in anything they could do for me. And very lucky boys. They married 3 beautiful daughters. So I have 3 beautiful daughter-in-laws, and they've given me beautiful grandchildren, and I couldn't ask for nicer grandchildren. They all respect me and love each one is different, but I love each one more and more. And it's wonderful when we all get together, and we have wonderful memories of all the happiness and bar mitzvahs and birthdays and weddings, and hope it can continue. I love you all.